Explain the importance of implementing a just-in-time JIT inventory system in a veterinary practice. How does it impact both cost management and client care? Answer: the just-in-time JIT inventory system is crucial in veterinary practices as it helps minimize stock levels, thereby reducing holding costs and the risk of inventory obsolescence. In the veterinary context, where drugs and medical supplies have specific expiry dates, JIT ensures that items are ordered in quantities that align with actual demand, reducing waste from expired stock. By improving stock turnover, JIT helps maintain the cost-effectiveness of the practice while ensuring that medications and equipment are available when needed. However, it requires precise demand forecasting, strong relationships with suppliers, and an efficient ordering process to avoid stockouts that could impact client care. Relevant guidelines was the Health and Safety Executive (ATESAS) guidelines on handling veterinary medicine stress the need for maintaining appropriate stock levels to avoid the expiration of drugs and to ensure that treatments are always available for animal welfare. A failure to ensure continuous supply due to poor inventory management could lead to violations under animal welfare regulations. What are the best practices for managing pharmaceutical waste in a veterinary practice to comply with environmental and regulatory standards? Answer: pharmaceutical waste in a veterinary practice must be managed in accordance with local environmental regulations to avoid contamination and harm to the environment. Best practices include separation of waste. Pharmaceutical waste should be segregated from other types of waste. Controlled substances should be kept in secure containers to prevent diversion. Secure disposal. Use certified waste disposal companies to incinerate hazardous pharmaceutical waste or use designated disposal methods compliant with government regulations. The Environmental Protection Agency's EPA guidelines for hazardous waste disposal, documentation and records. All pharmaceutical waste disposal activities should be recorded, including the type of drugs, quantities, disposal methods, and dates. This ensures transparency and accountability. Training and compliance. Staff must be trained in proper disposal procedures to prevent accidental exposure or improper handling of hazardous substances. Relevant guidelines laws. The UK Environmental Protection Act 1990 provides regulations for managing waste, including veterinary pharmaceutical waste. What leadership qualities are most critical for a veterinary practice manager when managing a team of veterinary professionals, and how can these qualities influence team performance? Answer: key leadership qualities for a veterinary practice manager include empathy. Understanding team members' concerns and personal challenges fosters trust and communication, which enhances team cohesion. Communication. Clear communication ensures that staff understand expectations, protocols, and changes in practice policies, which contributes to efficiency. Adaptability. The veterinary field is dynamic, requiring managers to adapt to new medical technologies, regulatory changes, and evolving client needs. A manager who is flexible can help guide the team through transitions effectively. Decision-making. Strong decision-making abilities informed by data and team input ensure the practice remains efficient and that resources are allocated appropriately to improve patient care. These qualities directly influence staff motivation, engagement, and job satisfaction, leading to improved performance and client care outcomes. Sarah is a senior veterinary technician at your practice. She frequently clashes with a junior technician, Alex, who is new to the team. Recently, their disagreements have been affecting the clinic's efficiency. As the veterinary practice manager, how should you handle this situation to improve team dynamics and maintain a positive work environment? Answer: to manage the conflict effectively, follow these steps. Initial discussion. Hold one-on-one meetings with both Sarah and Alex to understand their perspectives. Focus on active listening and avoid blaming or taking sides. Mediation. Facilitate a mediation session between Sarah and Alex to address the issues at hand, promoting mutual respect and understanding. Encourage both to express their concerns and seek common ground. Set clear expectations. Clarify team dynamics and expectations for professional conduct. Remind the team of the practice's values of respect and collaboration. Follow up and support. Monitor the situation closely and provide ongoing support. Offer additional conflict resolution training if necessary, and ensure regular check-ins to ensure the issue is resolved. Relevant guidelines laws. The Fair Work Act in the UK and the Occupational Health and Safety Act in the US highlight the importance of maintaining a safe and productive work environment free from harassment and discrimination, which includes managing conflicts professionally. How can a veterinary practice manager efficiently manage the purchasing and storage of veterinary pharmaceuticals, considering the balance between supply chain disruptions and maintaining adequate stock levels? Answer: effective management of pharmaceutical inventory involves supplier relationships, Cultivate strong relationships with multiple suppliers to ensure supply chain resilience. Diversifying suppliers reduces dependency on a single source, mitigating risks from disruptions. Forecasting demand. Use historical data and industry trends to predict demand for common pharmaceuticals and avoid overstocking or stockouts. Establish reorder points based on lead times and usage patterns. Temperature and storage conditions. Adhere to proper storage guidelines to ensure pharmaceuticals remain effective. Controlled substances, such as vaccines, may require refrigeration, while other medications must be stored in dry, cool conditions. Regular audits. Perform inventory audits periodically to reconcile physical stock with records and identify discrepancies or expired products. Relevant guidelines laws. The Veterinary Medicines Directorate (VMD) guidelines ensure that pharmaceutical storage meets the required standards. Compliance with the controlled drugs, supervision of practice, regulations ensures safe handling and storage of restricted medications. What are the most effective strategies for conducting staff meetings in a veterinary practice to ensure that important issues are addressed and team morale is maintained? Answer: effective staff meetings should include clear agenda. Provide an agenda beforehand outlining key topics to be discussed, allowing team members to prepare. This promotes focused discussions and prevents wasting time. Inclusive participation. Encourage input from all staff members, ensuring that everyone's voice is heard. This fosters collaboration and strengthens team morale. Time management. Start and end meetings on time to respect everyone's schedule. If necessary, schedule follow-up meetings for in-depth discussions. Positive reinforcement. Acknowledge team successes and individual contributions, which boosts morale and motivates staff. Relevant guidelines laws. The ACAS Code of Practice in the UK emphasizes effective communication as a key element of good management, which includes regular team meetings to address operational and personnel issues. Why is it critical for a veterinary practice manager to monitor expiry dates and shelf life in the practice's inventory, and how can they ensure compliance with these standards? Answer: monitoring expiry dates and shelf life is critical to ensure the safety and efficacy of veterinary medicines and equipment. Using expired pharmaceuticals could lead to ineffective treatments, putting animal welfare at risk. To comply with standards. Tracking system. Use an inventory management system that tracks expiry dates and automatically notifies staff when items are nearing expiration. First in, first out (FIFO). Implement FIFO practices where older stock is used first to prevent expiration before use. Proper disposal. Expired items should be removed and disposed of according to legal and environmental standards to avoid contaminating the clinic environment. Relevant guidelines laws. The VMD requires that veterinary practices comply with regulations for storing and disposing of expired pharmaceuticals to prevent harm to animals. The Veterinary Medicines Regulations (VMR) provide further guidance on the handling and expiry of medicines. What are some effective methods to motivate and engage staff in a veterinary practice, especially during periods of high stress, such as during peak seasons or after a traumatic event? Answer: methods include recognize contributions. Publicly acknowledge employees for their hard work and dedication, especially during difficult times. Offer support and flexibility. Provide emotional support and flexible working hours to help staff cope with stress. Professional development. Offer opportunities for staff to attend workshops or courses, which helps in their personal growth and fosters a sense of investment in their careers. Team building activities. Organize activities that help build camaraderie among staff, reducing stress and promoting teamwork. Relevant guidelines laws. The ACAS guidelines on employee engagement stress the importance of fostering positive work environments, particularly in stressful sectors like veterinary care, to enhance productivity and job satisfaction. How can a veterinary practice manager assess the reliability of a supplier, and what steps should be taken to mitigate risks in the supply chain? Answer: to assess supplier reliability, a manager should evaluate track record, review the supplier's history of on-time delivery, product quality, and customer service, monitor performance, implement key performance indicators (KPIs) to track supplier performance, such as delivery times, order accuracy, and product quality, establish backup plans, develop contingency plans with alternative suppliers in case of disruptions or issues with the primary supplier, maintain open communication, regularly communicate with suppliers to discuss any potential challenges and plan for future needs. Relevant guidelines laws. The supply chain management regulations ensure that veterinary practices maintain quality and safety standards for pharmaceuticals. The ISO 9001 certification may be required for certain suppliers to ensure consistent product quality. Why is effective delegation critical in a veterinary practice, and what are some common pitfalls that practice managers should avoid when delegating tasks? Answer: effective delegation ensures that the practice operates efficiently as tasks are distributed to the most qualified individuals, allowing managers to focus on high-level responsibilities. It also empowers team members and develops their skills. Common pitfalls include failing to clearly define tasks. Ensure that tasks are delegated with clear instructions, deadlines, and expectations. Micromanaging. Once a task is delegated, allow the individual the autonomy to complete it without unnecessary interference. Underestimating team capacity. Overloading staff with too many tasks can lead to burnout. Delegate according to team members' strengths and availability. Relevant guidelines, laws. The Health and Safety Act in many jurisdictions outlines the responsibilities of employers to ensure a balanced workload and clear job roles, which applies to effective delegation practices. How can a veterinary practice manager utilize workflow mapping to improve the efficiency of the practice, and what are the key benefits of process improvement techniques in this context? Answer: workflow mapping is a process where the veterinary practice manager identifies, visualizes, and documents all steps involved in delivering services within the practice. The purpose is to find inefficiencies, delays, or bottlenecks and make improvements to streamline operations. The process improvement techniques may include Lean or Six Sigma methodologies, which focus on eliminating waste and reducing variation. Benefits of workflow mapping: identifies bottlenecks, pinpoint areas where workflow slows down, allowing targeted improvements, enhances communication. Clear visual representation of processes aids in better communication between staff, optimizes resource use, ensures that resources, both human and material, are used effectively, reduces errors. A clear and streamlined process reduces the likelihood of mistakes. Relevant guidelines, rules. Lean management principles emphasize the elimination of waste through continuous improvement, which is directly applicable to veterinary practice management. A focus on improving customer value without unnecessary cost is key. What strategies can a veterinary practice manager implement to prioritize tasks effectively and ensure optimal use of time in a busy practice environment? Answer: effective time management involves prioritizing tasks based on urgency, importance, and long-term goals. Veterinary practice managers can utilize the following strategies. The Eisenhower Matrix, a framework for prioritizing tasks by categorizing them into 4 quadrants based on urgency and importance. This helps managers focus on what matters most and delegate or eliminate less critical tasks. Time blocking, allocating specific time slots for different activities, including staff meetings, client appointments, and administrative work, helps avoid distractions and ensures structured work hours. Delegation, assigning tasks to the appropriate staff members based on their skills, which allows managers to focus on high-priority strategic decisions. Relevant guidelines, rules. The Veterinary Practice Management Code of Ethics emphasizes the importance of efficient management in ensuring the well-being of both the staff and animals under care. Effective time management contributes to improved practice performance, employee satisfaction, and client service. Mr. Thompson, the manager of a veterinary practice, is faced with an emergency where a large number of animals have been brought in due to a chemical spill at a nearby manufacturing plant. What should Mr. Thompson do to manage the situation effectively, ensuring the practice can handle the surge in patients while maintaining safety and quality of care? Answer: in this scenario, Mr. Thompson should follow a clear protocol for handling emergencies in the veterinary practice. Activate the emergency response plan. Every veterinary practice should have a pre-established emergency plan that includes steps for mass casualty situations. This plan should outline roles, responsibilities, and communication strategies. Establish triage priorities. Mr. Thompson should immediately implement a triage system, prioritizing animals based on the severity of their injuries or exposure to the chemical spill. This ensures that those in critical condition receive care first. Coordinate resources. The manager should ensure that additional staff, equipment, and supplies are mobilized quickly. This may involve contacting local veterinary clinics for support or arranging emergency supplies. Communication. Keep clients informed about the situation and estimated wait times. Effective communication with both the team and clients will help manage expectations. Ensure staff safety. Ensure that all staff have the necessary protective gear and that there are clear protocols for safely handling animals exposed to chemicals. Explain how a SWOT analysis can be used to develop both short-term and long-term strategic goals for the veterinary practice. Answer: a SWOT analysis is a strategic planning tool that helps managers evaluate their practice's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. By understanding these factors, veterinary practice managers can develop and form strategic goals, strengths, internal capabilities, and advantages such as highly skilled staff, advanced equipment, or a strong client base. Short-term goals might include capitalizing on these strengths, like offering premium services to loyal customers. Weaknesses: internal challenges like underutilized resources or lack of training. Short-term goals might focus on addressing these weaknesses, such as staff development programs or process improvements. Opportunities: external factors that could benefit the practice, such as a growing pet population or new health trends. Long-term goals might involve expanding services or entering new markets. Threats: external risks such as new competitors or economic downturns. Long-term goals would address how to mitigate these threats, perhaps through diversifying services or developing better relationships with existing clients. What is the role of cost-benefit analysis in decision-making for veterinary practice managers, and how does it help determine the feasibility of introducing new technologies or services? Answer: cost-benefit analysis (CBA) is a systematic approach to comparing the costs and benefits associated with a particular decision in the veterinary practice. This analysis helps managers evaluate the financial viability of introducing new technologies, services, or operational changes. Steps in EBA: identify costs. These include direct costs, e.g., purchase price of new equipment, and indirect costs, e.g., staff training, potential downtime. Estimate benefits, quantifying the expected improvements in revenue, e.g., increased client volume, new service offerings, and operational efficiency, e.g., reduced time per patient. Compare, subtract the costs from the benefits to determine whether the investment is worth making. If the benefits outweigh the costs, it's considered a viable investment. Relevant guidelines, rules. According to the American Veterinary Medical Association (AMA) guidelines, a practice should engage in cost-benefit analysis before implementing new services to ensure that the investment aligns with financial goals and enhances the quality of care. What key factors should a veterinary practice manager consider when managing the supply chain and logistics of medical supplies to ensure optimal inventory levels? Answer: supply chain and logistics management in veterinary practices involves the coordination of ordering, storing, and distributing medical supplies to ensure they are available when needed without excess stock. Key factors to consider include demand forecasting, analyzing historical data, and future trends, e.g., seasonal changes in patient volume to predict the need for supplies, inventory control, maintaining the right balance between supply and demand to prevent stockouts or overstocking. Using tools like just-in-time JIT inventory systems can help in managing costs and reducing waste. Supply relationships. Establishing good relationships with reliable suppliers to ensure timely deliveries and access to quality products. Storage conditions. Ensuring proper storage for sensitive medical supplies such as vaccines, which may require specific temperature conditions. Relevant guidelines, rules. Veterinary supply chain regulations dictate that practices must meet specific standards for the storage and handling of medical supplies, particularly pharmaceuticals, to ensure patient safety and compliance with health regulations. Why is risk assessment important for a veterinary practice, and what are the key components of an effective risk management plan? Answer: risk assessment is critical for identifying potential threats to the veterinary practice's operations, client safety, and financial stability. By conducting regular risk assessments, managers can anticipate problems before they arise and develop strategies to mitigate those risks. Key components of an effective risk management plan: risk identification, recognizing internal and external risks, e.g., clinical errors, equipment failure, natural disasters. Risk analysis, assessing the likelihood and impact of identified risks on the practice. Mitigation strategies, developing policies and procedures to reduce or eliminate risks, such as staff training, insurance coverage, and emergency protocols. Relevant guidelines, rules. Veterinary practice managers must adhere to OSHA standards for workplace safety and implement disaster recovery plans that comply with local health regulations. What is the role of business continuity and disaster recovery planning in a veterinary practice, and how can managers ensure these plans are effective? Answer: business continuity and disaster recovery plans ensure that a veterinary practice can maintain operations during and after a crisis, such as a natural disaster, power failure, or major equipment breakdown. Business continuity plan. This plan should outline procedures for maintaining critical services during disruptions, e.g., emergency contacts, communication strategies, alternate work locations. Disaster recovery plan focuses on restoring normal operations after A crisis including data recovery, client communication, and the resumption of medical services. Relevant guidelines rules. According to the Veterinary Practice Management Code of Ethics, practices are required to have contingency plans in place to ensure patient care continuity during emergencies. Samantha, the manager of a busy veterinary practice, is tasked with setting both short-term and long-term goals for the upcoming year. She must address the need for more efficient appointment scheduling while planning for expansion into new service areas. How should she approach the process of setting these goals? Answer: Samantha should approach goal setting with a structured framework that incorporates both short-term objectives and long-term strategies. Short-term goals focus on immediate improvements, such as reducing wait times by optimizing appointment scheduling systems. Tools like automated reminders or online booking systems may be employed to enhance efficiency. Long-term goals consider strategic expansion, such as offering new specialties or increasing capacity. This could involve conducting a SWOT analysis and using data-driven decision-making to assess demand for new services. Balanced approach: ensure that the short-term goals support the achievement of long-term objectives. For example, optimizing current scheduling processes can free up resources to invest in new service areas. Relevant guidelines rules. The Veterinary Practice Management Code of Ethics emphasizes the importance of strategic planning to enhance practice efficiency while maintaining patient care quality. Why is succession planning essential for a veterinary practice, and what steps should a practice manager take to develop a comprehensive succession plan? Answer: succession planning is essential to ensure the long-term stability and success of a veterinary practice. It ensures that there is a clear plan in place for leadership transition, allowing the practice to continue operating smoothly when key personnel retire or leave. Steps in succession planning: identify key roles, define critical positions, such as lead veterinarians or office managers, that require succession, develop internal talent, create training programs to groom current staff members for future leadership roles. Establish a timeline. Set a realistic timeline for succession, ensuring smooth knowledge transfer and minimal disruption to the practice. Legal and financial considerations. Ensure that there are clear agreements regarding ownership transfer, tax implications, and legal responsibilities. Relevant guidelines rules. Practices should adhere to local labor laws and tax regulations when planning for succession to ensure that all legal requirements are met during the transition. What are the key differences between accrual and cash basis accounting, and how do they impact the financial statements of a veterinary practice? Answer: the two main accounting methods, accrual basis and cash basis, differ primarily in the timing of when income and expenses are recognized. Accrual basis accounting: revenue is recorded when earned, regardless of when payment is received, and expenses are recorded when incurred, even if payment is delayed. This method provides a more accurate financial picture of a practice's financial position, as it reflects all income and expenses for the period, regardless of cash flow. For instance, if a client agrees to pay for a service in 30 days, that revenue is recognized immediately, not when the cash is received. This method is typically preferred by larger veterinary practices or those with significant accounts receivable. Cash basis accounting: revenue and expenses are only recorded when cash is received or paid. This method is simpler and more commonly used by smaller practices, as it matches revenue with cash flow. However, it can lead to discrepancies between financial performance and cash availability. The choice of accounting method can significantly affect the financial picture of a practice, impacting tax calculations, profitability reporting, and management decisions. What are the main tax compliance obligations that a veterinary practice must adhere to, and what penalties can arise from failure to comply? Answer: a veterinary practice must comply with various tax obligations to avoid penalties. Income tax: veterinary practices must file an annual income tax return, e.g. Form 1065 for partnerships or Form 1120 for corporations, to report business income and expenses. This form must be filed by the due date, typically April 15 for sole proprietors and partnerships and March 15 for corporations. Failure to file on time may incur penalties, such as a failure to file penalty or a failure to pay penalty up to 25% of the unpaid tax liability. Payroll taxes: practices with employees must withhold income taxes, Social Security, and Medicare taxes from employees' wages. These taxes are submitted to the IRS quarterly via Form 941. Non-compliance can result in fines and interest charges. Self-employment tax: if the veterinary practice is the sole proprietorship, partners, or members of an LLC, they must pay self-employment taxes on their income, which include Social Security and Medicare taxes. Failure to remit these taxes can result in penalties. Sales and use tax. Some veterinary practices may be required to collect and remit sales tax on goods and services, depending on the state. Penalties for failure to remit sales taxes can include fines and interest. State-specific taxes. Local tax laws may impose additional obligations, such as franchise taxes, property taxes, or state employment taxes. How should a veterinary practice handle payroll taxes when employing seasonal workers, and what considerations must be taken into account for benefit administration? Answer: when employing seasonal workers, veterinary practices need to be mindful of payroll tax obligations. Payroll taxes, even though the employees are temporary, seasonal workers are subject to the same payroll taxes as full-time employees. This includes withholding federal income taxes, Social Security and Medicare taxes from their wages and remitting these taxes to the IRS. The practice must also pay the employer's portion of Social Security and Medicare taxes. Benefit administration. Typically, seasonal workers are not eligible for the same benefits as permanent employees, such as health insurance or retirement contributions, unless the practice has a policy stating otherwise. However, if the practice offers benefits to seasonal workers, they must ensure that they are in compliance with the Employee Retirement Income Security Act (ERISA) for retirement plans or the Affordable Care Act account if providing health coverage. Filing requirements. The practice must report wages and taxes for seasonal workers in the same way as for other employees using forms like W-2 or 1099, depending on the worker's classification. Mr. Thompson is a veterinary practice manager, and recently, one of the veterinary technicians sustained an injury while handling a dog. The technician is now seeking medical attention. What immediate steps should Mr. Thompson take to ensure the practice complies with workplace safety and reporting regulations? Answer: Mr. Thompson should follow these steps immediately. Provide first aid and medical attention. Ensure the injured technician receives the necessary medical attention, whether from an on-site first aid kit or by calling emergency services. Report the incident. Under OSHA regulations, workplace injuries must be reported. Mr. Thompson must document the injury and report it to OSHA if required. This should include the nature of the injury, the circumstances surrounding the incident, and any corrective actions taken. If the injury is severe, it may need to be reported to OSHA within 24 hours. File a workers' compensation claim. The technician may be eligible for workers' compensation benefits. Mr. Thompson should help the employee file a claim with the practice's insurance provider. Investigate the incident. Conduct an internal investigation to determine the cause of the injury and prevent similar incidents in the future. This may involve reviewing animal handling procedures, workplace ergonomics, or staff training. Implement corrective measures. Based on the findings of the investigation, Mr. Thompson should implement preventive measures such as retraining staff, reviewing safety protocols, and ensuring all safety equipment is functioning. What are the key tax deductions available to a veterinary practice, and how can the practice ensure it maximizes its deductions? Answer: veterinary practices can take advantage of various tax deductions, including business expenses, expenses directly related to operating the practice, such as rent, utilities, office supplies, and employee wages, are deductible. Medical supplies and equipment. Costs for veterinary supplies and equipment used in the treatment of animals are deductible. This includes everything from syringes and surgical tools to diagnostic equipment. Depreciation. Veterinary practices can deduct the depreciation of property, such as office buildings or major equipment, over time under the Modified Accelerated Cost Recovery System (MACS). Travel and meals. Business-related travel expenses, including transportation, lodging, and meals, are deductible. However, meals are generally only 50% deductible, and the travel must be directly related to business activities. Professional fees. Fees paid to professional consultants, accountants, and legal advisors are deductible. Employee benefits. Deductions are available for employee benefits such as health insurance and retirement contributions, provided they meet IRS guidelines. Home office deduction. If the practice manager works from home, a portion of the home expenses may be deductible if the space is used regularly and exclusively for business purposes. To maximize deductions, the practice should keep detailed records of all expenses and consult with a tax professional to ensure compliance and identify all potential deductions. Why is it important for a veterinary practice to maintain accurate and detailed financial records, and what are the potential consequences of failing to do so? Answer: maintaining accurate and detailed financial records is crucial for several reasons. Tax compliance. Accurate records are necessary to file taxes correctly and ensure that all eligible deductions are claimed. Failure to maintain proper documentation can result in missed deductions or worse, penalties and interest from the IRS for underreporting income. Financial management. Good financial records help the practice manager track expenses, revenue, and profitability. This allows for informed decision-making regarding the practice's operations, growth, and budgeting. Audit protection. If the practice is audited by the IRS or another governing body, accurate records provide the necessary documentation to support the practice's financial statements. Incomplete records may lead to penalties or adjustments during an audit. Cash flow management. Financial records are vital for understanding cash flow, ensuring that the practice can meet its financial obligations and avoid operational disruptions. The consequences of poor record keeping include lost deductions, audits, penalties, and difficulty in securing financing for future growth. What key health and safety protocols should a veterinary practice implement to protect both staff and animals during routine procedures? Answer: veterinary practices must implement several health and safety protocols. Animal handling safety. Staff should be trained in safe animal handling techniques to minimize the risk of injury from bites, scratches, or kicks. This includes proper restraint methods and the use of muzzles, if necessary. Infection control. Veterinary practices should follow strict hygiene and sterilization procedures, including regular cleaning and disinfecting of equipment, surfaces, and exam rooms to prevent cross-contamination and spread of infectious diseases. Personal protective equipment (PPE). Staff should wear appropriate PPE, such as gloves, masks, gowns, and eye protection, especially when performing surgeries or dealing with contagious animals. Ergonomics. Staff should be trained in proper ergonomics to prevent musculoskeletal injuries, such as back or neck strain, particularly when lifting animals or handling heavy equipment. Injury reporting and incident management. Veterinary practices should have a clear system for reporting and managing workplace injuries. This includes an emergency protocol for injuries sustained during animal handling or other procedures. What role does infection control play in a veterinary practice, and what are some common procedures to reduce the spread of diseases between animals and staff? Answer: infection control is vital to protect both animals and staff from infectious diseases. It involves several procedures. Hand hygiene. Regular and thorough hand washing or use of hand sanitizers is crucial to prevent the spread of infections. Cleaning and disinfection. All surfaces, equipment, and exam rooms must be thoroughly cleaned and disinfected after each use. This helps eliminate pathogens that may cause disease. Isolation of sick animals. Animals showing signs of contagious diseases should be isolated from healthy animals to prevent the spread of infection. Vaccination protocols. Veterinary staff should ensure that animals are vaccinated according to guidelines to reduce the likelihood of disease transmission. Proper waste disposal. Contaminated materials, such as bandages or syringes, must be disposed of in accordance with infection control standards to prevent cross-contamination. What are the essential elements of an emergency medical protocol for a veterinary practice, and how should the practice prepare for potential emergencies? Answer: emergency medical protocols should include emergency contact information. Ensure that all staff and clients have access to emergency contact information, such as nearby veterinary specialists or hospitals. First aid kits and equipment. The practice should maintain stocked first aid kits and emergency medical equipment to deal with common injuries or medical emergencies. Clear procedures. There should be clear written procedures for handling emergencies, such as animal bite incidents or severe allergic reactions. Staff training. All staff should be trained in basic first aid, CPR, and emergency protocols. Regular drills should be conducted to ensure readiness. Client communication. The practice should establish clear communication channels to inform clients of emergency procedures and ensure they understand their responsibilities. How can a veterinary practice improve employee health through better ergonomics, and what are some common workplace injuries to watch out for? Answer: improving workplace ergonomics can significantly reduce employee injuries and promote long-term health. Proper lifting techniques. Staff should be trained in the correct methods for lifting animals and heavy objects to avoid back or neck injuries. Adjustable workstations. Providing adjustable tables and equipment ensures that employees can work comfortably without strain, reducing repetitive stress injuries. Breaks and stretching. Encouraging regular breaks and stretching exercises can reduce the risk of musculoskeletal disorders from prolonged standing or repetitive motions. Common workplace injuries to watch out for include back strain, repetitive stress injuries, such as carpal tunnel syndrome, and injuries from animal bites or kicks.